Hello, everyone. Thank you. My name is Ken Lebo. I'm the founder and CEO of InsurTech Express, and I've been in the life insurance space for 38 years in the United States. And we connect innovators with capital, talent, and marketing. And we have a great panel here today. And the topic is data-driven life and health for insight to intervention. So hopefully you're all in the right place. So I'm going to go down the line here and have each panelist introduce themselves. So starting with Jackie.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jackie, Chief Medical Officer of Bowtie. Before I joined Bowtie, I was a physician within the NHS. And since I joined, I help with medical partnerships and operations and things. For those of you who may not be aware of Bowtie, we are a life insurer that specializes in medical insurance in Hong Kong that distributes solely on the digital channel. So looking forward to sharing our experience with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Jackie. Hello, everyone. Very good morning. Thanks for your time. Thanks for being here. My name is Hari Prasad. I head insurance practice at Neutrinos. So Neutrinos is an intelligent automation platform. We work with insurers across the globe in automating processes, and now, obviously, AI. The entire conference seems to be on AI, but yeah, we are AI as well. So yeah, that's us. Happy to be here. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ishan Jain. I've been at Swiss Re for 6 years. So I lead the project management in our life and health underwriting solutions in APACs. I'm very happy to be here and share more with you about all of that. Yeah, thanks.
Good morning. My name is Peter Animus. I'm the founder and CEO of Dakadu. We are a digital health engagement platform based out of Switzerland. We've been 15 years in business. We have about 100 million lives under contract globally. We are a cool vendor by Gartner Groups. So upstream, we engage people with their health, and downstream, we score mortality and morbidity in real time. So thank you and good morning.
All right. Well, thank you, guys. So we're going to start out talking about the industry perspective and the data-driven shift. So this question is for everyone. So Jackie, I'll just start with you. We'll go right down the line here. So from your company's perspective, what does data-driven transformation mean today in life and health insurance, and where is the biggest value being created right now?
That's a difficult question to start, but I'll try. I think I was thinking about this question when I came, and I had experience this morning where I live in new territory, and I was driving here, and basically my sat-nav had two systems. I had the Tesla one, which is not online, and it's basically calculating the journey from just a map distance point of view. And I was looking at my Google map, and obviously with all the data, it was giving me a different calculations, and it was the difference between 20 minutes and 40 minutes on the same journey. I think the example I wanted to illustrate here is it occurred to me on this topic how much we can make a difference with the appropriate data. And I was trying to apply it to an insurance industry. I think we are very good as an industry already to figure out the pricing of the product on a large cohort. But in terms of, we were talking about health insurance, and we're trying to leverage data to apply on how we price individual risk, or perhaps go the extra step of influencing what their future behavior would be. We're quite a long way short from that. And I think there's a lot of obstacles that we need to overcome for the idea to actually be executed. First of all is, which part of the data are we going to leverage? Who are we going to focus on? And when we set up a financial model to actually fund or partially subsidize these sort of initiatives, how are we actually going to sustain it and actually observe the impact in a business case? So all in all, what I'm trying to say is, I think it's a very, very promising field that we had been talked about for a long time, and I think we're moving towards there. But I think it's a very exciting space where a lot to be done. So lastly, just want to share on behalf of Bowtie, I spoke about all the opportunities available. What are we doing? Bowtie is a digital health insurer. We only operated in the last 8 years. So in terms of the size and the cohort and experience, we're not yet in the space of accumulating large amount of data historically, and we kind of apply it on our customer pool. We're not doing that. We're looking at the future. We're trying to set up ourselves so that So I think one thing to mention is, aside from being a health insurer, we are operating our own clinic, and we are operating our own kind of health media. So we go from the funnel of alerting awareness for what our insured should be engaging correctly in health, to trying to incentivize them to come to our clinic and actually get the appropriate health services done. And I think digitalizing that health data so that we can identify who is at need of what at the next step, and finally setting up the financial incentives to actually reward them, incentivize them to engage in the correct health behavior. So that kind of journey is what we've been experimenting on in the last 5 years. We started our clinic, and we'll continue to do so. Thank you.
Okay, Hattie?
Yeah, thanks, Jackie, for that insight. Yeah, to me, I think for several years, we've all been talking about data being the real wealth for insurers and driving the insurance industry, et cetera, and data insights, it's what we've been talking about. To me, it's not just insights now, but how quickly can those insights be transformed into actionable workflows? Could be underwriting workflows or claims workflows or whatever. I'm bringing up this example because I'm coming fresh out of an analyst conversation last evening. It was about this, right? So how can we leverage old or historical claims data to take decisions on the claims that are coming in just now? That's running fresh in my mind, so I just brought it up. So it's not just data-driven insights, but how quickly can organizations translate those insights into actionable workflows? And that's something that we are deeply invested in at Neutrinos as well. Yeah.
Ishan?
Great. So I think from my perspective, data-driven transformation really means taking very disconnected, siloed data sources and then really moving it towards a very combined, connected data source. So I think all insurance companies have a wealth of data, everyone. But then are they really leveraging the potential of that data? Are they able to actually connect it to create synergy and build value? I think that part is a little bit limited, and I think that's where the real transformation is. In terms of the real value that we see as Swiss Re, I think we see a lot of value in automated and underwriting transformation. So we've been in that space for about 30 plus years, and we're constantly innovating and providing new solutions to provide either automation or even support other manual processes that can be enhanced and improved.
Peter?
Yeah, I think biology and computing power is now coming so close, and the first generation that we saw of digital life and health was very much kind of a single app. I can't sleep, I have lower back pain. We're now moving into full stack computing, and data has always been in insurance, but when you look at IBM, they say that only 3% is used for something meaningful of the data that is available in insurance. So I, in principle, think that the LLM models will come from the big technology providers. On top of that, you will have a fully integrated consumer experience. And I want you to think a little bit like Netflix of health, and that's where we are taking Dakadu, and we are, in 40 different countries by now. And basically, what we are seeing is that consumers are getting more interested in their health. They want an integrated experience. They don't want to take a picture of the food or try to press a button. I track that. So it would be voice-based. There would be no more keyboards. It would be non-invasive in your life. We saw last week that a company in Taiwan came out with the first plaster that you put on your arm. It tracks your acidity, your glucose in the blood and so on. What I'm getting at is it would be a truly integrated consumer experience that would be full stacked and a platform enabled based on public APIs.
Great. Okay, so now we're going to get into some specific questions and kind of consider it's a little bit of a speed round, so give quicker answers to this, because I would say, starting with you, Jackie, this question's for you, for Bowtie. As Asia's first fully digital life insurer, is that true? Just checking. How are you leveraging data to personalize protection and engagement at scale for a younger, digital-first customer base?
I think, as I kind of alluded to in my first answer as an overview, I think there's many things to do, but I think the first question to answer is choosing where to play. Because when we got the insights of the data, actually translating it into customer behavioral change, I think is the key difficulty that part of the reason why it's been talked about for so long, but it has not really come to fruition. So at Bowtie, what we try to do is we try to leverage what has been there in terms of clinical context, bringing back to my old experience. But before I kind of go into the projects we do, I just want to mention one obstacle is knowing someone, you telling someone in the next 10 years exactly what their cardiovascular risk is might not necessarily change their behavior. We have that in the Framingham Health Score, right? And you can say that to someone and it might not make an influence on their diet, on the amount of exercise, or in terms of kind of their health practice. So for us, it's how do we overcome these sort of behavioral stickiness? So at Bowtie, what we try to do is we try to incentivize them to come in for us to risk stratify them to begin with. So we provide health checks and we digitalize that health data so it's efficient for us to identify who needs what. And then the next step is we identify a couple of important health initiatives. So for example, it's the ones that we're all familiar with. It's the hypertensions, it's the pre-diabetics, it's the ones that is, the hepatitis B is a big one in Hong Kong, and the correct health cancer screening. Are they doing the correct health cancer screening? So all of these, once we identify whether they are in need of this or not, we engage them and we actually incentivize them to come again and do it in our clinic. And lastly, we provide a longitudinal health record. Because again, another pain point in kind of in the healthcare system within Hong Kong outside is there is that public record that is continuous, but not a lot of engagements is done to the patient proactively. And if it's in the private market, it's very, very scattered. So we try to basically leverage data to guide us to who and how we engage the at-risk customers, and actually by that, it will slowly influence the health outcome in the long run.
Great. So, Ishan, reinsurers have a broad view across markets. So what trends is Swiss Re seeing in data usage that are shaping the future of life and health underwriting and customer engagement?
Thanks. So I think I'll start by going back to my initial point that insurers have a lot of different data. The problem is now this data is not really being fully utilized to its potential. So the idea is if you're able to actually bring together all of your health data, your medical data, your underwriting data, your claims data, this can all together really kind of put this all together. So what we see from a reinsurance perspective, we see that a lot of these different insurance companies are not really fully addressing this. We do see that there is a change. There is a kind of a movement which is happening where insurance companies are bringing together all of this data, are trying to transform it. So there is some transformation ongoing. And then the second trend I would see is more on the AI side. I would say that if we look at it 5-6 years ago, a lot of companies were talking about AI transformation, but there was a lot of reluctance on that side. There was a lot of concern, but now we actually see that most companies see this as a must-have, and in order to remain competitive in the market.
Okay, well, I'm glad you mentioned AI. We're going to get into the next section here with technology platforms and ecosystems. And Hattie, I think we broke a record here at InsurTech Insights. We didn't ask an AI question until like 15 minutes in and fourth question down. So, okay, so let's talk about from neutrinos. AI-driven architecture are reshaping how insurers build and launch new capabilities. So how does modern platforms help insurers turn raw data into fast deployable business processes?
Yeah, thanks, Ken. Again, that's a very tough question to compress into a minute. But yeah, so it begins with data ingestion itself, right? Over the last 1 year, I personally have seen how AI has influenced the ingestion of data. Could be the structured, unstructured ones. We always had OCRs, but then building an intelligence on top of the extracted information to make sense and to talk to the internal systems, that's a transformation which is really happening in production over the last 1 year as we've seen. And at Neutrinos, we are also strongly invested in if I can put it this way, the Google Translate for insurance systems, right? How can different systems talk to each other, talk the same language. So we are very deeply invested in data fabric as a technology component embedded into our platform. So that's a component that sits on top of core systems, could be your peripheral systems or whatever, and consumes the information, translates that into an understandable language for AI and for the internal and external systems themselves. So that's the data fabric. And yeah, so I think that's going to be the driver for the next year or so, for sure, bringing all the systems together and talking to each other fluently.
Great. So, all right, Peter. So your health scoring and digital engagement platforms touch millions globally. Millions, right? Okay. And
Not billions yet.
what's that?
I say not billions yet. We are working on it.
But you're in the millions. Okay, which is still a big number. Okay. So what have been the biggest learnings about integrating wearable, lifestyle, and clinical data into a unified, reliable model?
Yeah, so we started out 15 years ago, and we originally built a model with 250 data points. We always said we want to build a fingerprint of your life in real time, which is, real time. So there are 3 different challenges. Number 1 is normalizing the data. Number 2 is getting the data out of these silos that we heard before. And number 3 is to make it something meaningful to your life. And you have not heard me use the word AI yet. I'm doing that since 15 years, and before that, many, many years with data. So basically, I think the hardest job is if you put on an Apple Watch, a Fitbit, Garmin, Oura Ring, and so on, you will get all different kind of results. So at the end of the day, it has to be, underwritten possible that, the insurance or the underwriter can do something with it. And number 2, to make it relevant to your life. So AI has 2 key components, and that's reasoning. Why should I do this? And I still think that the insurance companies are trying to finger point at us, and they are all my clients around the world. And number 2 is create a relevance that I feel I'm getting something. And we call that at Dakadu since 15 years, the something for something economy. So predict and prevent is coming. The insurance operators, their model is 150 years old, and that will have to change into an outcome-based healthcare model. And as I mentioned earlier today, subscription-based, become member of your health, be relevant to the consumer's life, and get those profit pools that are out there in the industry. So I hope that makes sense.
Absolutely. So this next question's for everyone, so let's kind of make this kind of a speed, see what your quick answers can be. So Jackie, I'm going to start with you. So how do partnerships across insurers, reinsurers, tech platforms, and health providers strengthen the data ecosystems, and what gaps still remain? I know it's a loaded question, but see what you can do.
I think the biggest difficulty is to kind of get everyone within the ecosystem, so not just the insurer. So take Bowtie, for example. It's the healthcare provider that we work with, it's the hospitals, it's the reinsurers, it's the commercial partners, to realize how important it is to have a flow of data. Because at the moment in Hong Kong, not sure if everyone is aware, because a lot of it's from overseas, there's a lot of health data being generated, but it's not very transferable. It's not standardized, it's not digitized, and the compliance and the safeguard and so on and so forth. So I think what we have been trying to work towards is to find the aligned partners. So for example, just to give one example, again, I keep mentioning to our clinic, the health data generation, we get people to come and do a body check, and the kind of the most abundant and cost-effective body check, I'm sure everyone is aware, it's just a simple blood test. Even that blood test a lot of times is not digitized, and we basically had to go out of our way to find a lab which are willing to actually connect to our APIs and actually digitize the results for us, so we can actually both analyze it in a large scale and actually identify the customer individually, so on and so forth. So the articulation to our partners that this is important in the long term to build a platform where the health data flows through the ecosystem, and actually building the groundwork to allow for that, I think it's what we have identified to be the most important work.
And Hattie?
Yeah, thanks, Jackie, for that. We are happy to build the platform, so please walk up to us. So, yeah, so I think there's no single owner for the data, even in today's world, right? The providers hold one set of the patient's information, the insurer is holding the other. But the challenge, I don't know what the answer is still about the trust. Will the providers trust the insurers to share everything that they want to? Will the patients trust the insurers to consume their data and take the right decisions? I'm not sure. But yeah, for technology and platform, we're here, Jack and Peter as well. I'm sure Peter's going to ask about platforms. So yeah, so we're ready for that here. All right, thank you.
And Ishan?
Yeah. So I think each player that you mentioned really plays a vital part. So insurers will know their customers best. Reinsurers will bring like cross-market knowledge, market knowledge. Tech platforms will bring the infrastructure. But I think, as Jackie said, there's this idea that there's a lot of data, but it's not ready to be connected with different systems, to be talking to different systems. So I think that's something that companies really need to invest in, and also these different vendors can also help in bringing that together. In terms of the gaps I see, I think I echo a bit what they said. I think first gap is really, data readiness is not there, and then also if the data is ready, are the insurance companies really willing to share that data externally with vendors, with partners? That is something that's just a little bit limited, but I do see a bit of progress in that side as well.
And Peter, on partnerships?
Yeah, I think the whole partnership model is going to change. So for instance, we signed up Albertson in America, 88 million consumers every week, integrating it in with the point system. We built the quant engine that scores the food automatically out of the supermarket, called the grocery basket score. So the consumer has to do nothing. So you can imagine the kind of profiling that you get: saturated fat, salt, sugar, etc. So that's down at the back end. If we move one level up in this full stack that I talked about before, if you look at the UK government, last week they kind of shared the idea with its inhabitants that they would license the data out of the UK Biobank and the National Health Services. What I'm getting at is we will see completely new economic models. We will see completely new participants in the whole overall healthcare system. We just became, Health Platform of the Year with, as you all know, with HSBC Life Well Plus in Asia. And that's a bank that is moving into services. And you remember before what I said about Netflix. So forget about your classic conservative model, an insurance person who's been knocking at the door for 40 years with a brown leather bag. That's going to disappear. And, the next generation, they're going to buy real-time, online, convenience, integrated into my life. And it's a completely different system. When we look at the life and health insurers today, they have 2 to 4% engagement with their clients. We don't have a single Dakadu client that is below 20% engagement. And at the end of the day, I talk real engagement. And you remember before what I said about we need to have relevance to the consumer's life. We need to reasoning why they should have a policy. I was listening to the big CEOs in the other session before, where they were talking about undercoverage of insurance in Asia. And I simply think it's because we are not participating in people's life where it's really important.
Okay, so Ishan, let's move on to from insight to real world intervention. And so how is Swiss Re supporting insurers in turning predictive insights into actual interventions, whether through product design, underwriting innovation, or wellness partnerships?
Thanks. I think I will keep going back to my first statement, right, about connected data. Everything is super connected. I think from Swiss Re's side, we're really looking at how we can bring all these different data sources together. We see the power in bringing your health data, your application form data, your wearable data all together. It has a lot of synergy. So in terms of what we're offering, what we're doing with our clients, we're really providing solutions to automate a lot of these processes. So a very kind of popular solution that we have would be Magnum, where we actually offer the automated underwriting application form journey to help clients basically increase their STP, to provide a more streamlined customer journey, reduce manual intervention, and also reduce your operational cost. But at the end of the day, you're also doing this to just improve your customer journey. You want a leaner customer journey. You want something that they can enjoy, that they can remember. So I think that's one solution. We also have some other solutions where we work on different sides of the underwriting journey. So also on the automation of medical health checkup, which involves digitization, because these insurance companies may not always have the data in like a structured digitized format. It might always sometimes be raw. And I think there's also always challenge in transforming that data into like a standardized digitized data. And then finally, I would say that we also are working with our clients to help them provide a better and more simple underwriting process for actual manual underwriting. So it's not only about automation, it's also about elevating the experience for underwriters to help them provide solutions to them that can actually summarize all of those different data sources that I mentioned. So like health checkup documents, your underwriting application form decisions, your claims history, all of that into one platform where it's summarized, easily accessible, and then underwriters are able to provide basically a faster underwriting assessment. And we combine that with AI and Gen AI to provide a summary and to directly kind of redirect the underwriter's attention to the relevant sections which they should focus on.
All right. Now, I know I mentioned wellness partnerships. I don't know if Peter wanted to say anything about that, but.
Well, I mean, sorry. Yep. So I'm happy that Swiss Re is sitting here next to us. In the beginning, when we were looking at the wellness idea of insurance, people were like, "That's crazy. That's never going to happen." I went in the front door of Swiss Re, got thrown out of the back door. Now we work very closely together. And a very large life insurer, for instance, in America now, is pricing and indexing the insurance based on the health score. So basically, pay as you live. You all know pay as you drive. But basically, your health score is calculated, and then maybe once or twice or three times during the year, your wellness and your lifestyle is being directly, and it's not, a free coffee or a movie ticket like with some other company down from South Africa. It is basically a fully integrated platform where I am becoming part of my insurance policy. I get priced the way I live, and I get a dividend of my wellness and my well-being. On top of that, there is today globally a grab, this is according to McKinsey, of $1.2 trillion out of the 12 trillion that we spend on health. That is what I call health services. And that was why I mentioned the HSBC. And again, Dakadu is a platform. We are completely insurance independent. But that $1.2 trillion will be grabbed by the digital economy over the next 10 years. And that's why you see Google, Apple, Facebook, and everybody you can spell on the planet is trying to get into the space.
Yep. So, Jackie, you operate in one of the most competitive digital markets in the world. So what interventions do you see and nudges, content, programs have you found most effective at improving customer behavior or retention?
Okay, try to unpack that. I think first of all, I want to share that experience with Bowtie when the customers engage with us in whatever health services that we provide. Data has shown that it helps the business top line and bottom line a lot, from kind of the engagement, retention, to sort of the percentage they would refer. So basically, that validates why we should double down or triple down on the effort to actually engage customers on health and actually generate more data so that we can actually continue to help them to get healthier in the long run. So that builds the case. I think the question is how, and then it goes to kind of your question, and how is that effectively done? I think the programs that I mentioned, I think it has the assumption that we really so there is that space of wellness, which I know, for example, Peter and other partners would focus on. I think we are partnering with, we are looking for partners and actually have already found partners to actually work on that space. But I think on top of the wellness space, I think there is a space to be done in the medical side, specifically on identifying those who are at risk of serious disease in the future and hopefully steer a part of them away from that course. So that's what I describe as the medical side. And the programs I mentioned are the ones that is boring but medically proven, such as the diabetes and the hypertension and the cholesterol and the cancer screening programs. I think the last part I want to say is the how, because I think they are not sexy sometimes because they've been around for a long time. For the ones who are sexy, they're not necessarily cheap, and financing them sometimes is an issue. So the last 2 points I wanted to share is providing customer with a free program is not necessarily always the way to go, because although you would get adoption, the perceived value it generates is not necessarily what you might hope for. And secondly, the compliance to the subsequent modification of behavior, whatever it generates, might not be what you hope for. So the bottom message is this: I think trust and kind of the correct, understandable information is very important. What I mean by that is, kind of in my capacity, I engage with our customers a lot in the health side. And surprisingly and unsurprisingly, a lot of the public is interested in cancer screening. Yet, and they're willing to pay for it even, but they might not necessarily know what kind of cancer screening they should engage in, and for what reason. And in the public space, supposedly a doctor should be the one who provides this, but in the private and commercial world, doctors' time is very limited, and they might not have the necessary time to actually be the one who inform the customer on that front. So my bottom line is this: I think there is a lot of potential for someone other than a doctor inside the consultation room to be the one who kind of generate the trust for a insurance customer on what sort of health engagements they should be engaged in. And I think if that trust is built, the financing and kind of the compliance and the longitudinal record on the data generation and so on and so forth, that could solve itself out. That's kind of what I'm trying to say.
All right, before we get on to the next topic, I mean, I think Peter keeps getting mentioned here and indirectly. So I'm going to ask you this question, Peter. Many insurers struggled to move from insights to sustained behavior change. So what engagement models or incentive structures have proven most effective?
Yeah, and people always laugh when I say this. Human beings are animals, and we don't like to be told what to do. And I'm a human being myself. So I enjoy a glass of red wine, and don't misunderstand me. Somebody enjoys a cigar and so on. So I don't think that we can just tell people, you have to do this. So it's about logic. And as I said before, it's about explaining to people why this is good for you. And it's the same, all these crazy guys now on the internet, and I'm sure you all have heard about them, who says we're going to get 200 years old. I don't believe in that. So I don't believe in that, life is going to go on forever. We are biologically programmed to get about 80 years old, and everything else might be, good or bad. But you don't want to just, spend 40 years in a wheelchair, having hearing aid and be blind. And I'm always talking like this, and I do have parents that are old and sick and everything, because it's not quality of life. So I think the biggest win that the insurance operator can do is show #we care about you. And at the end of the day, it's proven knowledge is all about health. So Society of Actuaries, they interviewed, I think it was 25,000 people globally, and they realized that people that had an interest in health, people that had an interest in life, bought 35% more protection. So it doesn't necessarily mean they are iller or better or worse. I was just with a very large insurer in America last week, and they told me, we cannot insure people that have diabetes because they're too high risk. And I was like, that's not true. What you can understand, you can price, and once you start, understanding their lifestyle, you can price that in, and you know where I'm coming from. So at the end of the day, it's all about #we care about you and building models where the consumers feel understood. And I think we have to get away from this one-size-fits-all, preferred, non-preferred, no protection. And, that's not how life is. And at the end of the day, what you can understand, you can price. What you can understand, you can improve. And that's why I invented the health score 15 years ago. And, if you look at the credit market, every American has a credit score today. And we will see over 1 billion health score users over the next 10 years.
Okay, so Hattie, we're going to neutrinos, one of their sweet spots. Let's talk about implementations, right?
Yeah.
And trust and governance as well. So here's your question. When insurers modernize or automate workflows using AI, how do you ensure that data privacy, governance, and transparency are all built into their process from day one?
Right. Not just from AI perspective, it's overall how is the data handled and distributed across different roles and different workflows, right? So all the standard data controls in terms of masking certain data and building role-based access to certain data, those are all standard implementation that are by default available, not only in neutrinos. I'm sure many platforms already have that as well. Now, going one step further, it's about how do we build in ownership controls for different owners within that process, right? How do we ensure that the customer is able to proactively control what they want to share, what they don't want to share in order to build trust? That is something that we're working on. Very similarly, what is it that the underwriters want to disclose or not want to disclose when they're referring a case to the other departments as well. So it's about these different owners within the workflows and how do we enable them to control data is something that we are definitely working on at the moment. Like I said, the standard controls of PII maskings and role-based access, that's already available for several years now. Yeah.
So with the few minutes we have left, we're going to kind of do a fast round here, talking about the future. You goes and about the future and future trends. So Ishan, I'm going to start with you. In 5 years, which I know is eternity for technology, but in 5 years, what would be the biggest differentiator between insurers who thrive in a data-driven world and those who fall behind?
Thanks. I think it depends on, again, how much insurance companies are willing to invest right now in making their data accessible to different platforms or making their data available. Because I think Jackie also mentioned this earlier, data is there, but it's not accessible to other systems, other partners. So investing into making that data available, your systems being able to talk with each other is extremely important. And I think this will kind of set the stone for like the future. So being able to connect all that data, being able to invest into building like predictive models, integrating with other solutions, building connections with all different partners across the value chain will be very critical essentially for the future.
And Jackie?
Um,
You want me to repeat the question?
no.
Okay.
So I think in I see data. Okay, one of the message I try to say is I think we had the idea for a long time. We tried to execute it, but none of us have fully implemented the full potential of what it could potentially bring. And the question was kind of what it means in 5 years' time for those who do not engage in this. I think it is going to fall behind, and it's going to fall behind in terms of not having a moat, like not having a business differentiation against your competitor, because your competitor is going from customer acquisition to the pricing to engagement to kind of the loss ratio to sort of how healthy your insured pool are. All of those could potentially be impacted if we successfully glean the insights from what data could potentially offer, but I think most importantly, actually bring it down a level and actually start making changes to the insured pool. So I think that's the stake of the game.
Hattie?
Yeah, all right. To me, I think 5 years is it's an extremely long time where we sit now, Ken, right? 5 years ago, we did not know what AI can do or whether we will all be using AI. Absolutely not, right? ChatGPT, the way it's moved from version 1 to 5.1 now, 5 years is too far ahead to predict or look at what we should be doing.
That's an honest answer.
Absolutely. I'd rather say that for insurers to start now, experiment quick, start small. Absolutely. Small use cases, very quickly start putting that into production is what I would say.
And Peter, last word on the future.
Yeah, so I would even take it 5 to 10 years out. So I believe with large language models, we will encipher cancer. So we will understand diseases a lot better. As I said before, computing power and biology is coming closer and closer. So in my eyes, the whole insurance industry will have to rethink its original model because we will have a lot deeper insights. Second point is it costs about 35 to 45 basis points to run a bank, and it costs up to 220 basis points to run an insurance company. So there's a lot of fat in the insurance industry. We need to get smarter in the industry. I love the industry. I've been in it all my life. But I really believe we have seen nothing from Gen AI yet. And so far it's a nice playing tool for marketing. But as we move forward, we will start seeing very, very powerful, hyper-personalized models and optimized insurance companies that will completely outperform the ones that move too slow.
Great. Well, I want to thank all the panelists for taking your time and sharing your expertise, and thank you all for attending our session.
Thank you.
Thank you.